Hello, 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 and welcome back to yet another NFL video. It's a pretty simple premise today. I'm just going to be doing my all rookie teams, taking a look at last season. I'm gonna have three teams, so a first team, second team, third team, kind of like how the NBA does with their teams, with this specifically for rookies last season. So I think y'all catch on pretty soon. Nothing too complicated there. Uh, I found out into the very end, I found out or I forgot about undrafted guys. So I did actually find a couple guys that I ended up including. One guy even ended up being on my first team. So yeah, glad I figured out about undrafted players. But I probably did end up forgetting like one or two undrafted guys that probably could have made the third or second team, whatever. But nonetheless, thank you for watching and leave a comment on anybody that I decided to forget on this video here. But let's get straight into it. Not gonna hold y'all for long. I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna just go by position, and then at the very end, I'll like put all the teams on the screen so y'all can see them. All right. So obviously, first team quarterback has to be C.J. Stroud. No, I mean it's not. It's not even close. Arguably one of the greatest rookie seasons ever. Like regardless of position, anything. Bro took a horrible team to the playoffs, won a playoff game, was even in the MVP race for a certain amount of time. Now, maybe that was a little overblown, but he had an amazing season for a rookie. Like it was undeniably great. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm not here to glaze CJ Stroud that much, but I think it's pretty simple. I think we can all agree 99.99% of people would put CJ as the first team quarterback. Here's where things get interesting. There were a couple options, honestly. Aiden O'Connell, Will Levis, fucking even Bryce Young, could have been on here, but I thought statistically speaking, Aiden O'Connell made the most sense. I think he led all other like rookies in terms of yards, touchdowns. Like he played the most out of all these other guys. Which I don't know. And for some reason in my mind, I thought he didn't like play that much. So I was actually kind of surprised here at how much he did play last season. But yeah, you know, don't get me twisted. Not a good season. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that Aiden O'Connell was good last year. But for a later round or for like a fourth round pick, come in under uh dubious circumstances, coach fired midseason. I actually thought he did fairly well for a rookie, especially for a fourth round pick. So I got Aiden O'Connell on my second team. Third team, I ended up going with Will Levis over Bryce Young. I mean, Bryce Young was just straight up bad. Like, listen, I'm not saying that he's going to be a bust or anything like that, but he wasn't good at all last season. Okay, and it would have just been a pity a pity selection if I put him on here. So we got Will Levis instead. Um, again, not good last year, but I think in the circumstances that he had to play, horrible offensive line, coming in to replace Tannehill, he had his moments. He had that first game against the Falcons where he lit him up, had like three touchdowns to Hopkins. It was pretty much all downhill from there. but he wasn't awful. He was not awful. Maybe he shouldn't have played as a rookie, but still, I mean, from the options, it was either him or Bryce Young, right? And I thought he edged out Bryce Young. Pause. Running backs, though, I decided to go with two running backs on each team. For the first team, I thought this was pretty easy. I mean, Bijan, without a shadow of a doubt, had to be first team. And also, I think Jahmyr Gibbs can also fit into that mold. Did not like the biggest thing with Jahmyr Gibbs was like he didn't play enough, he didn't get enough touches. But Montgomery had a pretty good season. But it actually shocked me. Jahmyr Gibbs played less than 600 snaps and still had over 1,200 yards from scrimmage. Like he was undeniably like explosive when he got the ball in his hands. He was amazing last season. Bijan, of course, over 1,300 yards from scrimmage, over 1,400 yards from scrimmage as a rookie. Didn't have as many touchdowns though as Jahmyr Gibbs, surprisingly, even though he had a lot less or a lot more touches, I should say, than Jahmyr Gibbs. But both these guys were first round picks, four picks after one another. It's pretty not surprising that they were both ended up being on the first team. Second team, I went with Devon Achane and Tyjae Spears. Bro, this you're gonna see how many snaps some of these other guys like we have multiple guys in here that played over 1,000 snaps, right? And for Devon Achane to only play 300 snaps, like that is a below a role player typically for like in terms of a random player to play 300 snaps, and the man put up 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. Like that is just mind-boggling to me. The man averaged like 8 yards a carry. Like Devon Achane had like a ridiculous rookie season. And if it wasn't for Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan, like he was this close to being first team for me. 300, like that is one of the craziest stats you're gonna see on here. The man had 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns in 300 snaps and 130 touches. It's fucking ridiculous. The guy's an animal. Um, and I also put Tajay Spears on here, drafted 3 picks before Achane. He had himself a pretty slept on rookie season as well. He did a lot of work as a receiver, which I did not know coming into this. He had over 800 yards from scrimmage, and a lot of that came from catching passes out of the backfield. So shout out to Tajay Spears, even with Derrick Henry being healthy and still being the bell cow for Tennessee. Spears managed to rack up over 800 yards from scrimmage as a rookie. So I think that's pretty unexpected from him and ended up being on my second team. Third team here, it could have been a couple guys here. I ended up bumping off Roschon Johnson. I also considered Keaton Mitchell, another undrafted guy, but I went with Zach Charbonnet and Jaleel McLaughlin, that's one of those two. First undrafted player on the list. Um, he actually had a really impressive season for the Broncos. Think about how much went wrong for Denver last season. McLaughlin at times was literally like their only bright spot on offense. He had over or almost 600 yards from scrimmage, 3 touchdowns, over 5 yards per carry, by the way. That's incredibly impressive to me. And played less than 200 snaps himself. And then Charbonnet, second round pick, he came in. He was pretty reliable for my Seahawks. Nothing too impressive, but close to 700 yards from scrimmage, 140 some touches, not bad by any means. Didn't get in the end zone a whole lot, but third team running backs, pretty solid. Neither guy was, spectacular, but Jaleel McLaughlin, I think, as an undrafted player, pretty impressive. First team receivers, obviously, Puka had to be on here. Bro broke like every record for a rookie receiver, had over 1,500 yards from scrimmage. I didn't realize how like good he was as a running back, but look at that, like fucking 7 yards per carry. Yeah, it was just a match made in heaven. As a fifth round pick, Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, and also keep in mind Cooper Kupp's injuries is what played such a huge part in his success. Because if they had a healthy Cooper Kupp the whole year, I guarantee you Pook is not getting a fucking 160 targets. Like he might get like 100 maybe, but not 160. But the man was absolutely ridiculous. He dominated my Seahawks in week 1 and just never slowed down. I mean, absolutely. In my opinion, he should have been rookie of the year over CJ Stroud, or it should have been split because I think we're going to see a lot of quarterbacks come in. Not a lot, but I think it's going to be more common to see rookie quarterbacks come in and dominate. I'm not sure if we're going to see a receiver come in, especially a fifth round guy. Like that's just so much more impressive and put up over 1,500 yards from scrimmage. Like, it's ridiculous to me. Um, as far as the other guys are concerned, we also got Rashee Rice in here. Played a massive role for the eventual Super Bowl team, and also his stats didn't slow down once he got to the playoffs either. Like he played, like damn near 20 games, I think, like as a damn near I think he did lead the team in terms of receivers as a rookie and like catches and everything. So the man was a beast as a rookie, not including the shit he does off the field, because that's a whole other story. But as a rookie, kind of exceeded my expectations for sure. Stepped in and really dominated year 1, which is very impressive to me. And then Jordan Addison as well coming in. I think he led all rookies in touchdowns, regardless of receiver, tight end, anything. 10 touchdowns as a rookie. Obviously played big when Justin Jefferson was not there. Over 900 yards. Pretty good season from him as well. Second team includes a lot of small guys. We got Zay Flowers. Obviously, he was the Ravens' #1 receiver this year. Also had some big games in the playoffs. Had that costly fumble in the AFC Championship, I think it was. But that does not, take away from the fact over 900 yards from scrimmage, 6 touchdowns. Very explosive player when you got the ball in his hands, and he actually had a few drops this like as well last season. Like he easily could have broke 1,000 yards if he hung on to a couple more balls. Pause, but nonetheless, very impressive season from him. Jayden Reed, one of the most slept on. I have not heard anybody talk about Jayden Reed compared to guys like Zay Flowers and Tank Dell. But Jayden Reed was an absolute monster last season for the Packers. Only 94 targets, only 64 catches, but still put up over 700 yards, close to 800. Look what he did as a runner up with the football. 11 carries, right? 11 carries. The man averaged almost 11 yards per carry almost 120 yards, two touch. The man had over 900 yards from scrimmage and 10 touchdowns as a rookie, and nobody talked about it. He was incredibly impactful for the Packers last season. And then, of course, I think everybody knows about Tank Dell. Texans were heavily covered this season, and everybody knew about Tank Dell. How he kind of popped up out of nowhere and put together a monster season. Don't get me wrong. Cut short due to injury. I'm fairly confident that if he would have not got hurt, he probably would have ended up on the first team. But unfortunately, due to his injury, I did have to keep him on this second team. But nonetheless, still an absolutely incredible season from Tank Dell. I'm sure nobody expected that in year one. Third team, we got guys like Josh Downs, JSN, Dontavian Wicks. Dontavian Wicks is a fifth round pick on a team already loaded, by the way, with young receivers, kind of, solidified him. That really shocked me. I mean, think about the Packers, right? All the young guys they got there, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, we just talked about, Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, and he still managed to carve his role in the team and put up nearly 600 yards on 15 yards per catch. That is very slept on. Both him and Jaden Reed didn't get a lot of coverage. We got Josh Downs, a guy I loved pre-draft. That's just say third round up there, 79 pick. He was in the third round, massively fell. And I thought he kind of proved a lot of people wrong. Almost 800 yards as a rookie. By the way, with Gardner Minshew throwing him the ball, I mean, again, not a lot of eyes on a guy like Josh Downs because so many other rookie receivers had big years, but he had a really, really impressive season to me. And then JSN, he had a lot of big moments. Um, it's crazy that I would consider that slightly disappointing. He didn't really start off very hot, but a lot of people remember moments like the Eagles game, for example. But listen, he got better as the season went on for sure, and his final numbers I think end up looking pretty impressive. But you know, as a delusional Seahawks fan, I was expecting like I don't know 800-900 yards, but I will absolutely take the season that he ended up putting together. Now let's get to the tight ends. Only one per team. I think that's pretty reasonable. First off, we got Sam Laporta. Again, nobody really talks about Sam Laporta because so many people had insane seasons. But for a rookie tight end, the man absolutely dominated. I believe he was a Pro Bowler, should have been. Probably could have been an All Pro, to be honest with you. Almost 900 yards and 10 touchdowns. I mean, one of the Lions' leaders, along with Amon-Ra St. Brown, in terms of catches and targets and all that. I mean, he was an incredibly valuable piece and crucial to the Lions, success in the playoffs and making. I mean, the Lions, think about it, they had two rookies, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, both had monster rookie seasons and both ended up contributing to them making the playoffs at 12-5. So great job by the Lions. I was so wrong about their draft class, man. Second team, we got Dalton Kincaid. Again, I feel like going into the draft or coming out of last year's draft, I should say, a lot of people were very high on him. They knew it was kind of a no brainer, right? Throw Dalton Kincaid on paper, the best receiving tight end in the class with Josh Allen, and just watch what happens. And that's kind of was the case. Almost 700 yards as a rookie, two touchdowns. And I feel like he kind of didn't get involved enough in the Bills offense. You got guys like Stephon Diggs taking away a lot of targets. They ran the ball a lot more than I'm sure most people were expecting. And the emergence of guys like Khalil Shakir. I think Dalton Kincaid next season is going to have a major jump in terms of targets, catches, yards, all that. He might even eclipse 1,000 next season. To be honest with you, I expect him to take that big of a leap going into year two. And then for the third team, a lot of options here: Michael Mayer, Tucker Kraft, but I went with Luke Musgrave because he did it. He basically had similar numbers to those guys, but he played a lot less. So I figured it was more impressive. Like when he was on the field, he did more. Over 300 yards, 34 catches. He was a pretty high draft pick. I mean, he was only drafted a couple spots behind Sam Laporta. But again, Packers had so many fucking rookie weapons. He really got no attention compared to the other guys. But he had a very, very slept on rookie season. I decided to put him on this list. Moving on to the offensive line. You're gonna see what I value here a lot is playing time. Like I'm gonna take a guy that gives me 1,000 snaps, but maybe not as good, in terms of PFF grades compared to the guy who plays like 600-700 snaps, but maybe grade a little higher. I feel like availability is the best ability for an offensive lineman. That's just my opinion. But for the first team, we got a pair of teammates went very differently. One guy went sixth overall, the other guy went 111th overall, but both ended up making my first team. Let's start with Paris Johnson, the highest drafted offensive lineman from last year's class, kind of had the most expectations placed onto him. And I think he did pretty fine, to be honest with you. The pass grade is what sticks out to me. It was the highest and pretty high in comparison to all of the other rookie linemen. A lot of penalties, a lot of sacks allowed, but he was able to stay healthy. Played a lot for the Cardinals when they needed him to at right tackle. 42 like listen, nobody's going to say that Paris Johnson was a great lineman in year one, but I thought he was very solid, and I think the potential. I think sounded like country of shit right there. I think the potential is very obvious with Paris Johnson, and it's a good building block for him to start his career off while also still being better than all of these other guys compared to him. With that being said, Dawand Jones, make no mistake, was the best rookie offensive lineman in football last season, with bar none. That 73.0 pass grade you see down there is like the highest. And I mean the highest for any offensive lineman you're going to see on here. And he did that as a fourth round pick starting at right tackle. Like, that's incredibly impressive to me. Only 2 penalties, only 3 sacks allowed. Not as great of a run blocker, but most of these guys weren't, to be honest with you. So that doesn't really do anything for me. Graded very highly as a pass blocker and as a rookie tackle. That's what really matters in the league. So incredibly impressive by Dawand Jones. A lot of people kind of talked about it. He was one of the biggest steals in the draft, and that turned out to be, true and then some. Second team here, Darnell Wright, Anton Harrison. Pretty similar, to be honest with you. Darnell Wright was a much better run protector than Anton Harrison was, a much better run protector. But he gave up a lot more pressures than Harrison did. Overall PFF grade, better in Darnell Wright's favor. But I thought Anton Harrison was a little bit underrated, to be honest with you. I thought they both did pretty solid. And Darnell Wright still maybe a little bit better, but I thought both these guys as first round picks had acceptable rookie seasons, based on their expectations. And then third team, we got Broderick Jones, who did not play that much for the Steelers, but again, the potential was there. A very high run grade, maybe the highest out of all these rookies, 62.9. Didn't give up that many pressures, not that many penalties. I think he has a guy, obviously 14th overall pick. He's a guy with a ton of potential. And then Wanya Morris, this is a sleeper pick here because he only played 340 snaps, right? But he actually was the only guy here out of all of these guys to start at left tackle, and he did it for the goddamn Chiefs. He started a lot of games at left tackle for the eventual Super Bowl champs. And look at that pass grade. 63.4. That's one of the highest we've seen on this list. So to play at left tackle, the more difficult position, going against better competition, third round pick, not no first round pick, for the eventual Super Bowl, like that blew my mind when I saw that. And he did pretty well. 63.4 pass grade. Only 2 sacks allowed. Now, very limited sample size. I understand that, but I thought that was just so impressive that I had to include him on this list, even though he didn't play as much as any of these other guys. Moving on to the guards, 2 per team, obviously. Steve Avila, I thought was the, pretty simple, like no brainer pick here. Played left guard, a bunch of snaps played, maybe the like most amount of snaps out of anybody on this whole list. Graded fairly highly, and it's tough, honestly, for guards. Like to get a high PFF grade, it's very difficult. But he was graded very well in pass protection. I took that into consideration here. He was the best rookie guard in my opinion. You also got Matthew Bergeron, drafted 2 spots behind him. Graded pretty solidly across both his run and pass protection. Gave up a lot of sacks, but still played a fuck ton at left guard for the Falcons, and I thought he was pretty good. Um, Second team, we got Peter Skoronski, one of the highest drafted offensive linemen in the entire class. Didn't play as much as some of these other guys, but he was graded very well. Very good in pass protection, solid in run protection. Wasn't the best, obviously. The whole Titans offensive line was just a tragedy last year, and he's not exempt from that. But I think he did do what most people expected him to do, at least as a rookie. Um, City Sal, a guy that nobody was talking about, before the draft, after the draft, but he came in for the Patriots and he was not good. He was not good in pass protection, that is. But look at that run protection grade, like the highest we've seen from any lineman since Dawand Jones, 71.3. He was just a mauler in the trenches for the Patriots last season. And, I would not have known that unless I did my research for this video. So shout out to City Sal making a second team appearance here as a fourth round pick. Third team, we got O'Cyrus Torrence. I was very high on him going into the draft last season. I was shocked he fell as far as he did, and he was not too good last season as a pass blocker. Played a fuck ton for the Bills though. I love that. And he was solid in run protection, but as a rookie, not where you want to be day one. But I'm sure he will build upon that and improve. And then I got Anthony Bradford here for my Seahawks. You can call it bias if you want to be honest. There were not that many options here. I kind of just had to throw somebody in. I thought Bradford, due to what he did in the run game, I thought he was pretty solid. Played a fair amount, nothing special, but he was out there a lot for my Seahawks. And, you know, I implore you to tell me somebody you would rather see in this spot instead of Anthony Bradford. Moving on to the centers, this is going to get funny here. Listen, Joe Tippmann, I'm not laughing at him. He was very good last season, graded very highly as a run protector. Jets offensive line was tragic. I don't think it was his fault. He was actually one of their better offensive linemen. He is literally the only center here that deserves to be on this list. I mean, you're going to see quickly. He was the only center that played a meaningful role as a rookie last year. And shout out to him. He deserved to be first team. Now let's get into the other guys. I had to put Olu Oluwatimi here. You can call this Seahawks bias all you want. Fifth round pick. He only played 128 snaps. There was just no other option. But listen, he only played 128 snaps. I don't even care about the pass grades. It's such a small sample size. It doesn't even matter. Listen, I had to put him second team because look who the fuck I got in third team. John Michael. I'm not laughing. Listen, I was actually pretty high on this guy before the draft. I actually it was a wide consensus that this guy was going to be like the best center in the draft. Look at his fucking pass grade. 26. 26. I could probably head out there and give you like a 15 or a 12. This man's a 26. They played center? Like, come on, bro. 5 sacks allowed. Didn't even play like 1,000 snaps or anything like that. 30 pressures allowed. 41 overall grade. Listen, the man was terrible. Now you see why I had to put Oluwatimi in second team, even though he only played like 100 snaps. I mean, John Michael Schmitz was terrible, but because he was like the only other guy that played. Okay, so I had to include him here, even though, don't get me wrong, the man was not good as a rookie. But hey, the good news is it can't get worse than 26.9 pass grade. That's a fact. Defense now. Getting to the defense, I got 2 defensive tackles per team here. This is a no-brainer. Kobe Turner, Jalen Turner, Kobe Turner, Jalen Carter were both incredible. Both should have been Pro Bowlers in my opinion. Well, I don't know if they should have been Pro Bowlers. They both had Pro Bowl caliber seasons. Start off with Kobe Turner, though. Did not get as much hype as Jalen Carter, certainly. I mean, Jalen Carter, people were talking about him as the best player in the whole draft. But Kobe Turner came in as a third round pick, 9 sacks. That might have led all rookies, regardless of position. I think that did lead all rookies. Now, he did get to play next to Aaron Donald. I'm sure that had a huge part in this. But look at that 83.8 overall PFF grade, 16 QB hits, 8 tackles for loss, 20 pressures, 9 sacks. It's just incredible to me. I mean, as a third round rookie, he had to fight his way into a starting position and just dominated, man. Just dominated. It was incredibly, I mean, unexpected. And, the Rams have a potential star in Kobe Turner taking over for Aaron Donald. And then you got Jalen Carter, obviously. Everybody knew how good he was coming into the draft. I was a bit of a hater, I'll be honest, but, he had an amazing season. The highest grade, 89.0, that might have been like the highest grade for any defensive player. And I'm not joking about that either. He was in very impressive. 6 sacks, 18 pressures. He kind of slowed down. I feel like in the second half of the season. I feel like the first half he kind of was. I mean, he just was doing more. But make no mistake, Jalen Carter. Uh, he showed everybody why he should have been a top 10 pick, and nobody can argue with that. Second team here, I got Bryan Bresee and Kalijah Kancey. Both first round picks. I think both these guys actually should have got a much higher PFF grade just in terms of their stats. I mean, I don't know if I'm missing something, but you look at Bryan Bresee, 6 PBUs, with like Kalijah Kancey, 10 tackles for a loss. Both guys had over 4 sacks, 13 pressures. I mean, I don't know what I'm missing. Neither guy, I mean, played like 800, 900 snaps or anything like that. But I feel like both these guys were pretty solid. At least on paper, at least, statistically, they both had very impressive seasons. But for some reason, their PFF grade was very low compared to these other guys. So I'm not too sure why. But because of that, I put both these guys on the second team. I feel like they both had, reliable, solid, above average rookie seasons. So That's a little confusing to me. Third team, though, we got Keanu Bent. It was a lot of options here. I left out guys like Dante Stills, a seventh round pick for the Cardinals, Javon Dexter, second round pick for the Bears. There were a lot of options here, but I went with Keanu Benton and Carl Brooks. Now, Benton, very high PFF grade for the Steelers. He played a lot with when Cam Hayward went down, apparently. So he stepped in as a rookie, maybe, not expected to play as much as he did, but he did more than he was asked for, in my opinion. Two forced fumbles, eight QB hits, nine pressures. I think he stepped in pretty well and played very admirably on the Steelers D line. And then Carl Brooks is a sixth round pick playing next to Kenny Clark and company. That's kind of a stacked D line, to be honest with you. I'm shocked he ended up playing as much as he did. Got 4 sacks, 4 PBUs, 6 tackles for a loss, and only a very limited amount of time as well. Carl Brooks kind of came in and made his name well known. So keep an eye on Carl Brooks to be a fixture of that Packers D line moving forward. Packers also had a really good draft. Edge rushers now. I just included two here to kind of make that four on the defensive line. I got Will Anderson and Byron Young on here. Will Anderson, obviously, similar story to Jalen Carter. Kind of everybody knew what we were getting into here. And I think he lived up to expectations in year one. 32 pressures as a rookie, 22 QB hits as a rookie, 7 sacks, only played 630 snaps. He kind of was just like a designated pass rusher as a rookie, 81.8 overall PFF grade. The man was incredible. I think everybody expected this, and he delivered on all fronts, in my opinion. But then you got Byron Young again, another Ram, third round pick, competing with these guys at his position that everybody kind of saw as the blue chip golden child. But I think Byron Young ended up kind of stealing the show a little bit. He actually led all edge rushers in sacks with 8. He played almost 1,000 snaps as a rookie being out there. 24/7, 19 QB hits, 8. No, listen, he played a lot more than Will Anderson, and his stats across the board were pretty much not as good. So I understand that, but still, not taking anything away. Byron Young exceeded all expectations as a third round pick rookie. Kind of an older guy, too. I think he was like 24 coming into this season. So, very impressed with what Byron Young put together. Moving on to the second team here, we got Yaya Diaby and Tuli. Not going to say that last name. Third and second round picks here. Diaby, really nobody. I mean, yeah, he was looked at kind of as a project type of guy. I'm sure nobody expected him to come in and have more sacks than Will Anderson. That's just ridiculous to me. 7.5 sacks, 12 tackles for a loss, 2 fumble recoveries, 8 QB, 12 tackles. I mean, the guy was just a man. He was an animal. On the Buccaneers D line, he kind of just took over for Shaq Barrett as a rookie. Like, that kind of blows my mind, to be honest with you. Nobody was thinking what Yaya Diaby would end up putting together in his rookie year. And then Tuli Pulatu, he kind of took over for Joey Bosa, 22 pressures, 12 QB hits. Again, very slept on. Not a lot of attention towards him. Khalil Mack had a great year. I'm sure he benefited as a result. But 4.5 sacks, 8 tackles for a loss. He had a very good season and graded, higher than a guy like Byron Young. So very impressed with Tuli Tuipulotu as a rookie. Third team, we got Lucas Van Ness, BJ Ojulari, a couple of guys who were drafted fairly highly, but kind of designated pass rushers, didn't see the field a whole lot, but both guys managed to get at least 4 sacks. I was impressed more so with Van Ness, I think, because again, like I mentioned, that Packers front seven is very loaded. And as a rookie, I thought him getting the field that often, 12 pressures, 4 sacks, 8 TFLs, I like what I saw out of him. But BJ Ojulari, listen, that Arizona front seven is awful. So for him to get any pressure with those guys, I like what I saw out of him. So 40 tackles, 4 sacks, 8 pressures, a very good stepping stone in terms of a first season for BJ Ojulari. Moving on to these linebackers now. Ivan Pace is the guy who I forgot about to the very end. I just didn't even think of him as a rookie because he was undrafted. Came in, and this is the thing about him. Everybody was wondering, why didn't Ivan Pace get drafted? Why did he go undrafted? Apparently, it was because of his size. He's like 5'10", but that's it. The man showed in college that his size didn't matter, and he was a dominant player regardless. NFL teams just completely wrote him off. Vikings pick him up, and he literally had the best rookie season out of any linebacker. That's just baffling to me. I wish my Seahawks would have got him. I'm kind of heated that we didn't draft him in the fucking 6th, 7th round. I mean, he would have been better than fucking Bobby Wagner last year. Damn, no, maybe not Bobby Wagner, but I'm like that just blows my mind that just because of his size, he was written off. And look at these stats, man. These aren't just good for a rookie. These are just good. Period. The guy was just a good linebacker last season as an undrafted player. It's ridiculous. Really had no flaws. Good against the pass, the run, over 100 tackles. I mean, great PFF grade by the way. I mean, Ivan Pace. Shout out to him, bro. As an undrafted player, prove already he doesn't even have to do anything anymore. He's already proven everybody wrong. You know, height does not matter as a linebacker. It's just how well you play, how athletic you are. So yeah, my bad. You knew the mic was going to die eventually. Second team linebacker, we got Jack Campbell. He was the guy I originally had on the first team because he came in for the Lions. I thought it was a bit of a reach. I'll be honest with you. He is kind of a designated box linebacker. Doesn't do too well in coverage. Great against the run though. I think he proved that he was very good for the Lions last season. A big part of why their defense was so improved. Nearly 100 tackles, five tackles for loss, 2 sacks. Again, not great against the pass. That's what brought his PFF grade down a lot. But still, I think for a rookie, he did his job. He played his role, and he was a part of a winning team. So I give him props for that as well. And then third team, we got Henry To'oTo'o out of Texas from Alabama, fifth round pick, by the way, for should be fifth round. But only 400 snaps played. I feel like he still did a lot in terms of a box linebacker. Again, similar to Jack Campbell, was not great against the pass whatsoever. A very low PFF grade, but again, fifth round pick, playing more than he probably should be. I feel like he still did enough to make this list, in my opinion. Now let's get to the cornerbacks. This is very interesting because we got a lot of guys to talk about here. First team, I only did two per team because I mean I didn't really do a nickel player. I mean I don't know. Maybe I should have because I only had 9 guys for defense across each team, but whatever. Cornerbacks, first team, Devon Witherspoon. I feel like that's kind of a no-brainer. He was like one of the only guys to make a Pro Bowl as a rookie, and I feel like that's deserved. Not just Seahawks bias, but I mean, he was amazing playing up like 3 sacks, 8 tackles for a loss. His physicality, his aggressiveness really shined through. 16 pass breakups on only 84 targets. I thought that was very impressive, and he didn't play like a rookie to be honest with you. He played with like a certain energy to him. I thought it kind of was shocking to me how quickly he picked it up and how good he was playing early on. Very good passer rating allowed, especially considering he gave up 5 touchdowns. I think most people would consider Devon Witherspoon to be a first team corner. And you got Joey Porter, who kind of fell in the draft, definitely fell in the draft. I was expecting him to go in the top 20, fell to the first pick of the second round. And he played. I'm actually shocked. I didn't, because I remember last season, like the first half of last season, he wasn't playing that often, but I didn't realize how much he played down the stretch because he ended up playing over 800 snaps, 63 targets, an amazing completion percentage allowed for him, a great passer rating allowed for a corner, 10 pass breakups. He actually had a very solid year, just not even solid. He just had a good year last season for any corner, let alone as a rookie. I had to put him on the first team because I was beyond impressed when I actually looked at the stats and saw how good he ended up playing down the stretch. So very impressed with Joey Porter. Second team, we got Tyrique Stevenson and Deonte Banks. Stevenson, man, Stevenson got put through the ringer because keep in mind, Jalen Johnson was so good. You can't throw it his direction. So why not target the rookie, the 56th overall pick? So he got targeted 116 times, gave up 9 touchdowns. Normally, that would just be a deal breaker. But here's the thing: the man had 16 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, and even though this is such an impressive thing, even though he gave up 9 touchdowns, he still allowed a passer rating of under 100. That means if you threw it to him and it wasn't a touchdown, he had it. It was clamps. That means he was playing amazing coverage when it wasn't a touchdown. 9 touchdowns is crazy. I can't lie, but still, he's a rookie, man. He's a rookie who got targeted 116 times. That's ridiculous. Anybody who breaks 100 targets is crazy, but as a rookie, man, I feel like he fought through it. 2 forced fumbles, had like 6 takeaways overall. I was very uh proud of how Tyrique Stevenson handled the pressure, and I think he's going to be a star moving forward. Next, we got Deonte Banks. here as well. Very slept on. A first round pick kind of snuck into that first round over guys like Joey Porter, for example. And I thought he did well for the Giants. Kind of was their best corner, to be honest. A good passer rating allowed, multiple interceptions, 11 PBUs, targeted a lot as well himself. So I thought he stepped up to the task. Not as good as guys like Joey Porter and Devin Witherspoon, but I feel like he did very well and definitely deserves to be on this second team. Next up, we got the third team, and here's a couple guys. Well, at least Carrington Valentine. I'll be honest. Doing the research for this video, first time I heard bro's name, I did not realize for the Packers. Because when I think about the Packers cornerback room, I think Jaire Alexander, Eric Stokes, Rasul Douglas. I did not realize how much Carrington Valentine played last season and played very well. Seventh round pick, by the way. Only one touchdown allowed. Very good passer rating allowed. 9 PBUs on just 59 targets, 44 tackles. He played great. He played great as a seventh round pick. Filled in where he got in where he fit in, and I thought played his ass off. So shout out to Carrington Valentine. Definitely make this list over guys like fucking Emmanuel Forbes, for example. So shout out to Carrington Valentine. He impressed me a lot. And then you got Mekhi Blackman from the Vikings, 102nd overall pick. Again, not a lot of attention brought on him. Did not play that often, only 435 snaps, but he did get targeted 52 times, played very well, very good passer rating allowed, 8 pass breakups. A guy that played very good in the pinch, and I expect him to take a big jump next season in terms of playing time. Now to get onto the safeties, final group here, similar to Dawand Jones and Paris Johnson, the only group of teammates out of position to both come from the same school. Brian Branch, Jordan Battle, both played at Alabama, and both ended up being on my first team. Brian Branch, honestly, could have been a Pro Bowler as a rookie. I mean, he picked it up. He had a pick six in week 1 against the Chiefs. Ended up helping them win that game. 13. I mean, just read the stats for yourself, man. The guy was absolutely incredible. 13 PBUs, great passer rating allowed, 3 interceptions, 7 tackles. I mean, he was everywhere. Did everything he needed to for the Lions. Arguably the best player in their entire secondary as a rookie. Stepped up to the plate. I mean, Lions had an amazing draft class. It looks so poor of me now to hate on them in hindsight. They did incredible. Brian Branch was great. And then you got Jordan Battle here. Didn't play as much for the Bengals, but when he played, he was a very good box safety. Didn't get targeted that much at all. I mean, gave up 90% of them, but not that high of a rating allowed. Over 71 tackles, or 71 exactly, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss, 5 PBUs. There weren't that many safeties that played a big role, to be honest with you. So Jordan Battle, I thought clearly was the best out of all these other guys besides Brian Branch. Second team, we got Quan Martin and Jair Brown. Like I said, neither of these guys played a massive role. Neither of these guys played over 400 snaps. I thought Quan Martin was slightly more impressive because he had multiple interceptions, a couple pass breakups. He was targeted slightly more, like he actually played more of a nickel role, and was in coverage a lot more. Jair Brown, more of a box guy, running downhill a lot more. But yeah, both guys. I didn't think either of these guys were bad by any means. Just did not play as much of a role in order to really take them more seriously. And then honestly, third team, I could only find one. Sidney Brown was if I was to put another guy on here, he would have played like 100 something. I didn't even know if there were these other guys, like what position they played. They just listed as DB. Like they probably just played nickel and didn't actually drop back at a safety or play boundary as a corner. So it's like just a bunch of in betweeners. Sidney Brown's like the only other safety that I could confidently put on this list, and he wasn't great, to be honest. Not great in coverage. Multiple touchdowns allowed, but had a pick six. That's all I can really tell you about Sidney Brown. But now let's get into the entirety of these teams and what they look like. Here's the first team offense. From left to right, we got Puka Nacua, Rashee Rice, Paris Johnson, Steve Avila, Joe Tippmann, Matthew Bergeron, Dawand Jones, Sam Laporta at tight end, Jordan Addison, CJ Stroud, obviously at quarterback, and then a backfield of Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. Now, here's what I was thinking. Is this team a Super Bowl contender? Well, let me say, is this offense a Super Bowl contender? The first thing I look to is the offensive line. I think Dawand Jones, good right tackle. Steve Avila, good left tackle. Joe Tippmann, fine center. Good, above average center. Paris Johnson, probably average left tackle. Bergeron, probably an average right guard. So the offensive line, I'd say, is like above average. Wide receiver core, It's a good receiver core. I mean, it's a very. I mean, think about it. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl with a bad receiver core. Ravens made the AFC Championship, bad receiver core. Like, so I think the receiver core, especially when you add in Sam Laporte, it's one of the best in the league. Quarterback, one of the best in the league. Running back duo, possibly the best in the league. So I feel like the offense is a Super Bowl caliber offense. Just rookies. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, because think about all these guys, CJ Stroud, Puka, Sam Laporta kind of had like legendary record breaking seasons as rookies. Like, it's just so many in the same season. It's kind of crazy to me. And the first team defense, not as good as the offense, especially in the back end. I feel like Ivan Pace, Jordan Battle, it's not as loaded, but the defensive line, Will Anderson, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Jalen Carter, it's a great defensive line. I cannot argue with that. The cornerback duo, I probably should have thrown a nickel player in, but yeah, only 9 guys. It doesn't like it's unfair to kind of judge this compared to the offense, but it's a good defense nonetheless. Second team, yeah, Aiden O'Connell. The offensive line is such a big, drop off. Receivers are still good. Receiving core overall still good. Achane, Tajay Spears, it's a good backfield, good receive. Like the weapons, obviously, are still going to be stacked, but the quarterback offensive line, it's not that great of an offense. I'll still list everybody out. Jaden Reed, Tank Dell, Darnell Wright, Peter Skoronski, Olu Oluwatami, City Sal, Anton Harrison, Dalton Kincaid, Zay Flowers, Aiden O'Connell, Achane, and Tajay Spears. In the defense, we got Tuli Tuipulotu, Yaya Diaby, Brian Brzee, Kalijah Kancey, Yaya Diaby teammates, by the way. Jack Campbell, Deontay Banks, Jair Brown, Quan Martin, and Tyreek Stevenson. Not a bad defense. The middle might not be as strong, especially the safety duo. Third team, not that great. third team, not that good. Starting from left to right, JSN, Josh Downs, Wanya Morris, O'Cyrus Torrance, John Michael Schmitz, Anthony Bradford, Broderick Jones, Luke Musgrave, Dontavian Wicks, Jaleel McLaughlin, Seattle Seahawks, Zach Charbonnet, and Will Levis. And the third team defense. This made me realize, by the way, how good the fucking Packers draft class was. I mean, look how many guys we got here. In the third team, we got 5 Packers here. BJ Ojulari, Keanu Benton, Carl Brooks, Luke Van Ness, Henry Toto, Makai Blackman, Carrington Valentine, Sidney Brown. That is going to be this. I did not think this was going to end up being that long of a video, but I'm sure it's probably like well over 30, probably closer to 40 minutes here. Leave a like, please. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.